Hope everyone's doing well. This week we are working on the bucket problem again, but it's going to be a little bit different. As you can see here, I put a little note: mathematicians use patterns they notice in one problem to solve similar problems. This week we are going to work on the same problem, but we are going to change it slightly. The goal is to look for patterns to see if we can figure out how this problem changes when we change the size of the buckets. So on your home page, you'll notice that I left some questions that you guys had asked or that I had seen in your Jamboard from last week, and I posted some answers, so you should look at that first. Then the second thing you're going to look at is a movie clip. So there's a clip from a famous movie, which is the inspiration for this bucket problem, and the video link is here. If you click this, you'll see the movie will play. If you have any issues with that, let me know. Then I want you to try this yourself. So if you click on this link, it's going to bring you to this Jugs website, and I want you to scroll down and choose 5 and 3 make 4. That's the same scenario that was in the movie. So now your job is to see if you can fill a bucket, move the water over, and move things around until you get to 4 gallons. Now, I want you to think about, did you solve it the same way they did in the movie? Is there another way to solve the problem? And which way is the most efficient? Like, there might be more than one way to get 4 gallons, but maybe one way is more efficient than another. So that's something that you might want to think about as you work on this activity. Then I want you to spend a little bit of time on this. So, try to figure out how this is kind of working. And then think back to that problem from last week. If you were a little confused about the bucket problem and other gallon amounts you can make, maybe after playing with this, you start to realize, oh, that's kind of what he meant, and that's how we can create new amounts by pouring the water between the two buckets and kind of moving the water around. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do, part 4, is to go back to your Jamboard from last week and just answer at least one question that I had left on your Jamboard. So I want you to spend about 15 to 20 minutes responding to feedback on your Jamboard from last week before you move on to the Jamboard from this week. So Jamboard 2, there are some group changes this week. I haven't finished the list, but here you can see 700, so the new groups will be here. They're mostly the same. I'm just moving students around who were not participating last week because I don't want that to affect the groups who are working really hard. So let's go to the Jamboard. You'll see on each slide of the Jamboard there are 2 new buckets. Your goal as a group is to figure out what gallon amounts you can make with each of these 2 buckets, just like we did last week. So try the 5 and the 3 gallon bucket. What gallon amounts can you make with a 5 and 3 gallon bucket? Then the 2 and 6. What different gallon amounts can you make with the 2 and 6 gallon bucket? Then try the 6 and 7 gallon bucket and see what gallon amounts you can make with that. Then try a 3 and 9 gallon bucket and see what gallon amounts you can make with those 2 buckets. And then I want you, so as a group, you can kind of either give each person one slide and they can work on it, or you could work on the slides together. That's up to you. I want you to use the same color coding that we used last week, so please make sure you choose one of these one of these 4 colors. Remember, red is going to go with the pink sticky note, and then you stick with the same sticky note and the same color throughout. Also, please make sure, if you're Rachel, you put your name on the first slide here with your color, so I know throughout this activity who is each color. Okay, most of you did that last time, but some of you did not properly label your color, so it was a little confusing for me to figure out who was working and who wasn't. So please put your name and your color, you can make this even smaller, on the first slide, so I know what color you'll be using throughout the activity. And so I should see multiple colors on each screen since you guys will be working together on this. Like I said, you can start individually, but then I'd like you to go through and look at other people's work, leave them questions, ask them questions, look for, maybe you can add on to their ideas, look for patterns, and then I want you to think about our focus question. When given 2 buckets of any size, can we create any gallon amount we want up to the maximum, which we've kind of figured out is the sum of the 2 buckets. So here the most we can ever carry is 8, here the most we can ever carry is 8, here the most we can ever carry is 13, and here the most we can ever carry is 12, right? So, but can we make the whole gallon amounts from 1 up to that maximum. Is that always possible? And then a follow-up question. How does the size of the two buckets change our ability to make different amounts? So as you're working on these problems, I want you to think about how the two sizes together allow us to make different amounts or restrict us in making different amounts of gallons that I can carry back again in one trip. So again, you're working on this together. I want to see everyone working on all these different slides. You could start by separating in the beginning, but then I want to see you going back and forth, asking each other questions, leaving each other comments. So it's important to get started on this right away, and you kind of revisit it throughout the week to see how it's growing. And then on the last slide, which I haven't finished yet, but on this slide, you're going to start to put together, and if you need to add more slides, you can do that, but please keep them organized. I know some of you got a little crazy last week and you have like 16 blank slides. Please make sure you keep them organized. So if you need to add more slides, you can always do that. Even in between, if you need for the 6 and 7, if you need to show more work, you can add a slide here. But make sure you label it 6 and 7 so I know which problem you're working on. Here is where you're going to put together and answer that focus question. So this is where you're all going to be working to answer that focus question, again, which is, when given two buckets of any size, can we create any gallon amount we want up to the maximum, which is the sum of the two buckets? And our follow-up question, how does the size of the two buckets change our ability to make different amounts? If you guys have any questions, please reach out to me on Slack. I'm always available. Some of you have reached out to me and taken advantage. I'd like more of you to take advantage of Slack and my ability to help you throughout the week working on this problem. If you need anything, please reach out on Slack. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'm here to help you with this new problem. I hope that watching the movie and playing with this interactive game helps you understand the problem a little bit better and makes it a little bit more fun.